Mike, the situation, you are really shaking up the pop culture world right now with all these revelations from your book, Reality Check, that everyone is about to dig into. Congratulations, by the way. We are so excited to chat with you and dig into it ourselves.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you guys. I was actually I think in the office the other day. I bumped into you guys.
Yes.
So it's good to see you guys again.
I
Yeah.
know we are so excited to talk to you. And also because I know when we last spoke with you in the summer, the book I think was just announced. And now we're finally at the time of its arrival. How have you been feeling? Because I mean, you're no stranger to having new seasons of shows come out and everything like that. But this book seems like a completely different ballgame to emotionally prepare for its release.
Yeah. To be honest, I had to have multiple lawyers actually look at this book to filter out to make sure that I can release it. That's how sensitive the content is. And I really went full disclosures, full transparency, and it was really no holds barred in this tell-all.
Where did you start in this whole process? I mean, how was the writing process like for you? Did you sort of go into it with a plan to reveal all of this sensitive information
Um,
or anything you
well,
were
you know
prepared
what?
about?
I had felt at a particular point in my career and family life right now, that I had made it to the other side, and I had felt that it was time to share the situation that people were unaware of. I mean, I've been on TV for the past 15 years. My life has been a TV show, and people think they know the situation, but there was so much that people didn't know. So I really went into this like, okay, it's time to really tell people the real situation. And that's why, like I said, I had to have not one lawyer, but two lawyers look at this to make sure that we were allowed to publicize this.
And I feel I can only imagine now it's so great that you're able to tell the full story about your life and to let everybody know what's really going on. But for the past, like you said, decade plus you were on TV, you were also getting talked about and discussed, and you weren't able to really give maybe your full reply you would want to. Were there any moments that really stand out from the past that you wish you maybe vocalized yourself more, stuck up for yourself more when a conversation was going on online or in the press?
I mean, we're talking about almost a 15-year career, so we might have to clarify a little bit more. But I mean, I think everything happens for a reason. I mean, I'm now 8 years clean and sober today. I just announced on social media. I just also celebrated 5 years in a happy, healthy marriage. We got two babies and another one on the way. So I always wanted to write a book, and I always said, maybe my life story would be someone's survival guide, and now it is. I wrote the book. It's my masterpiece, and it's a page turner. It's gonna be a movie. I'm calling it right now. I'm telling you, it's the craziest book you guys will read. You can't put it down. Anybody I let read it early, which has been the press, they said they haven't been able to put it down.
Reliving one's past, I feel like can be either cathartic or triggering. What was the experience like for you, sort of looking back on some of the darker moments in your life? Was it tough at all?
It was definitely tough. There's a lot of tough moments in that book. There's a lot of dark times. But I was very proud how I handled myself as a man. And but writing this book was extremely emotional, and it was definitely tough to get through. It's not easy talking about addiction, prison, miscarriage, a baby in a NICU. It was obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and I really wanted to get it across to the reader, that you can go through obstacles in life. Life's going to happen on life's terms. But you can get through those if you believe in yourself and move forward one day at a time.
And in situations like that, after you would finish unpacking and writing a chapter or something with heavy topics that were very personal to you, do you implement any type of self-care or check-in that kind of was above like the routine that you would do to kind of make sure you're ready to go on and continue? Like, did you have that? Or were you just kind of like,
What for when I was writing the book?
yeah,
I mean, listen, I don't like to admit it. I definitely broke down many times in the 2 years writing the book. I mean, especially there's a ton of tough times. I mean, my son was in the NICU. That was a very traumatic time. Writing that and articulating a detailed book to you know, where it's going to be a good one. It wasn't easy. So I definitely broke down, you know, driving home from actually funny yesterday. I think I just finished the audiobook. And I told my wife I broke down many times just doing the audiobook. I actually did my own audio for my own book. It was definitely hard to get through some of the chapters for sure.
It was tough to relive the situation where your son was in the NICU, and I can't imagine how hard that was to go through in real time and then have to sort of revisit it. But that does make me think like you are this, very loving family man now. You have your beautiful life with Lauren and your kids and a new baby on the way. Are you gonna let your kids read this book one day?
I I think I'll let the kids read the book maybe when they turn 18. They, definitely. I'm very proud of the book. I think that my kids have a sober, mindful dad that they can look up to. That is a champion of addiction. But there's a lot of stories in that book. I would like them to wait till they read till they're about 18.
I
And
mean,
also because they're gonna have some stories with being like, wait, Uncle Vinny and my dad,
Yeah,
what
yep,
happened?
yeah, it's so
Because that's
great.
the thing, it's not
Exactly.
just your stories. It's
Uncle Vinny, Aunt Snooky, Aunt Jay. Well, oh my God, yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people are surprised to know that you and Vinny and Polly had a little MVP celebration with a lot of ladies. At
Yeah.
one point, did you give Vinny and Polly a heads up that you were going to include this wonderful tour?
Yes, most recently I did. I just told them probably a few weeks ago, maybe. And but while I was articulating and doing the book, I felt that the way that I described said orgy was very good. The way that I described it, it was I finessed it really good.
Okay, for the kids who have not read the book yet, what do you mean by that? Talk us
Okay,
through your creative
instead of being graphic and being like, okay, we had this orgy. I described it as the immortal Biggie Smalls quote that, you get your friends and I'll get my friends and we can be friends. So therefore, I finessed it in a way that you're like, wow, well, what just happened? But also, it's an orgy, yeah.
Yeah.
sharing is caring. It's
Yeah.
just it's good. Everyone can get it. And I mean, of course, I mean orgies. I feel have a special, like you say, finessing and dancing to it. And I mean, I don't know if you're going to be biased with this answer. Who do you feel was the MVP of the MVP orgy?
That's funny. You know what? I think that I don't know. I was quite busy at the time
Yeah.
to be able to judge who was the MVP and the MVP orgy. But I did recently tell Vinny and Polly chuckled, and Vinny was like, "Was there more than one?"
Was there?
I mean, when I spoke to the boys, me and Polly were like, "There might have been more than one." Yeah,
I mean, life was probably moving very fast at that
very
time.
fun.
And
Yeah.
so I do wonder, like, how did you re-jog your memory to write this book? Because I don't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So were
Yeah.
you keeping journals and diaries or like what,
It
how?
was definitely a monstrous undertaking to write this book. We started out doing a bird's eye outline of my life. And then we went through and we added in, let's just say if I had about 15 jaw dropping stories that, I mean, just one of the stories you're going to be like, I mean, obviously you guys know some of the stories now, they're all over the press, but just one of those stories would be enough to fill a book. But I had like 15 of them. So, and obviously in the 15 obviously would be the MVP orgy, the $500,000 for cocaine and oxycodone, the $1 million for lawyers, the sex tape that almost was revealed. So you see all these stories. So then we went through and started filling in all the stories, and then you fill in the blanks from there.
Mm.
Hey, well, speaking of that emergency sex tape that your family co-signed in case you needed to go for it.
We could clarify it. Because there's a lot of reports that, you know, my then girlfriend, who's now my wife, okayed it with my mom. They were in the same room at the same time when I had a discussion with my manager and my team that this could be an option because we were bleeding money. There was more money going out than coming in. You know, and we're like, okay. They're like, Mike, you know, why did you need to speak to us? And I'm like, well, I'll be honest with you. We're in dire straits. And to be honest with you, I've had this sex tape for a couple years now. And it is multiple participants. It was 3 plus me. And we, you know, this might be the option. And then from that particular point, everybody had wide eyes. Everybody's like, are we really doing this? Are you okay with it? Are you sure you want to go down this road? And then we went to the lawyers. And then the lawyers looked at it. And then we started to go down and do the due diligence of selling said sex tape. And then we contacted, you know, Vivid and some of the adult entertainment companies to see how and when and we would release it, what would be the said compensation, and also some of the logistics of releasing it. And then eventually we realized against it that there was more negative than positive, and the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah, I think you
Were there
that you weren't going to accept the compensation that they could have offered you because it wasn't equivalent to the Jersey Shore money you were making.
Yeah, at the time, again, I was bleeding money, so you have to understand that, like, I needed like a lump sum, you know, and I was making upwards of almost $200,000 an episode from MTV, so I'm used to, you know, some very higher compensation numbers. And I think that the first offers that came back were maybe like low six figures and some back end on the sex tape, and I was just like, it's too low, and I felt there was more risk than reward at that time. Maybe, you know, if it was like somebody said $1 million or something, if that was in the verbiage, maybe that would have changed the conversation, but it wasn't. And I advised against it. Once we started to get numbers back from different adult entertainment companies, we were like, okay, no, this is not worth it.
also, I feel there has to be a moment too where you're like, I'm making 200 an episode. You're like, I know my worth. And you're like, I know quality performance when I see it. That
You know, yeah. To be honest with you, you're 100% correct. Again, like, you're talking to a guy that has his own Christmas ornament. I got bobbleheads, my own ab cream, my own GTL bags, my own vodka. You know, I'm getting $200,000 almost an episode for Jersey Shore. I'm getting paid almost $500,000 from pharmaceutical companies to rep their products. So when we got those first initial offers from the adult entertainment companies, I was like, nah. I was like, and then, you know, the way that it was released and all the things that needed to be done to release it, we were like, nah, it's gonna stay in my past, and that's where it stayed, and I'm happy it did.
And
and
look
I
at you
also
now, like you pulled yourself out from under. You have this incredible home now, and
Yes,
things are good and gravy, and you never had to release a sex tape. What a blessing. I'm sure
exactly.
Lauren's
It's,
very
you know
excited
what?
about that.
It's an amazing, crazy story to tell. It is, to think that it's almost comical that the emergency plan was a sex tape. If you think about it, who has an emergency plan to release a sex tape? It's a reality star.
a
It's
rainy day
crazy.
fund. Yeah. And also because I know how people's brains work, I just now need you to settle this, because you did say it was you, 3+ people. We were just talking about MVP orgies. It was not, what was the sex tape, a situation solo of Jersey Shore stars, or were other Jersey Shore stars
Oh,
involved?
no, 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 no. It was a solo. We never recorded any of the MVP stuff. But
Well,
yeah. But
if
again, I think MVP, we had a conversation, I think a couple weeks ago, and we were all looking at each other and we're like, was it more than one? And it's so funny because we kind of chuckled, like, I think it might have been more than one.
When you made the sex tape a few years prior to considering its release, did you make it with the intention of maybe releasing it one day, or was it just for fun?
Oh, no, no. I had just again, if you read the book, a threesome was a slow night. A lot of the times it was upwards of 6 to 10 women in the room at a time. Again, a lot of the times feasibly that's not realistic to accomplish said goal, but I definitely, my eyes were definitely bigger than my head.
I was gonna say, girl number 9 just like, should I go? Like, I'm like,
Yeah,
she's just
yeah, to be
waiting.
honest with you, it was like that a few times. There were conversations in the midst of like, how are we even gonna accomplish said it's almost like a mass orgy of like, 9 plus me or 10 plus me. So it's such a crazy story. I mean, you're not gonna be able to put the book down. I mean, it's a page turner.
I think a lot of people are going to be interested to hear some behind the scenes details about your time on the first iteration of Jersey Shore. One thing that really struck me is that you were able to smuggle
Mm,
drugs into filming in
yeah.
different cities and states
Yeah.
and countries. Like, how did you do that? And you never really got caught.
This like a Netflix movie. This like a Netflix movie. I'm telling you. Um, every season after season one was like Mission Impossible, trying to smuggle drugs into the Jersey Shore house in a different state, in a different country, trying to get past their security protocols. And every season would be a different caper. And ironically, when you read the book, you're like, oh my God, he was actually, successful in every smuggling attempt, every caper. There was me jumping out of cars sometimes, just to escape security and cops and producers to have a drug exchange. I mean, it's like an action movie.
'Cause that
Yeah.
was the thing when I was reading the details. I was like, the situation jumping out of cars to avoid others. And also, it's probably that interesting thing too, that it was before more of such a social media time where like less eyes on you of like a person being like, Dumois, I see the situation running out of a car, and things like that
Yes,
too.
yes. I mean, I describe in the book as I'm running down the streets of Miami in a bright blue Ed Hardy pants with a white guinea tee on, and people screaming my name, snapping photos as I'm being chased by security, cops, producers, and I'm on the hunt to try to score prescription pills. I mean, it's just insanity.
That is the hard thing about the Jersey Shore crew. You guys, I mean, I'm from Jersey, so I love the fashion, but you guys stand out. The
Yes,
clothing is not a blended.
imagine trying to escape, right? And be inconspicuous. And you're running down the street in a guinea tee and a backwards hat on the biggest television show in the country with bright blue Ed Hardy pants with a bunch of rosary beads. And I'm just running down around the street with cops that are there to protect me, security from MTV to protect me, and producers. They're all to protect me. And I am just wilding.
How did you find contacts in different cities and even countries to find drugs? And was it an interesting exchange when you had achieved this overnight fame? Like, were your dealers like, oh my God, it's Mike the Situation? Did you ever get a deal, or did they upcharge you?
They definitely were like that, but uh, I mean, technically, early on in the book, when you read it, I come from a drug dealing past. Um, so when I got discovered and I made all this money, I kind of reverted back to some of those bad behaviors. So I reverted back to those old childhood friends that still were selling drugs to either send me drugs, FedEx. Maybe sometimes I'd fly them down when I knew that I was going to be in that city. So they were housed up, posted up already down there. So at a moment's notice, I knew that you're down there because I flew you down there. You know, when it was in Italy, I smuggled them across the border, obviously, in my shoe. There was like 200 pills in each shoe. Um, Obviously, I ran out and I started to go through withdrawals, and then I banged my head through a wall. And then there was that situation there.
It's kind of interesting because watching back those early seasons, I maybe I'm naive, but I would have had no idea that you were high. When you look back at those early seasons, are there moments that you're like, oh wow, like clearly I look high here and the audience didn't catch on.
100%. I mean, there were so many times, and I have to say this, that like the executives of MTV, Sally Ann Salsano, the big head boss, like they would really try. They would pull me aside early on. We're talking season 2. Like, Mike, are you okay? They wanted to let me know that it was okay to put my hand up and say I needed help. But early on, I was in denial. And I sort of was running away from my problems for many years. And I even had definitely some I think early on confrontations with production, because they were like trying to save my life,
Mm.
and I was running away from that, and I was in denial. And so I have to definitely say that production, they were trying to save me for a long time.
And you were saying too that it was very hard for you in that moment to realize to put my hands up, I need help. And obviously speaking to you now, you're sober, you're happy with your family and everything, but still life gets hard and like situations are just hard even for the situation. Do you have when you face issues now where you're like annoyed or stressed or upset, do you feel it's easier to ask for help because of what you've been through? Or are you still kind of needing to go in your head to say, no, it's okay to ask for help?
I mean, I recommend to anybody that it's very courageous to ask for help. But now 8 years sober, I'm never tempted to break my streak, or um, to relapse or anything like that. If I have a bad day, I have a diet soda and some salty snacks. You know what I mean? And I'm watching a movie, and I do it for the night, and the next day I'm at the gym. And that's what I love about myself. If I have a bad day, and I rarely have a bad day, um, I cheat on my diet. And
Mhm.
then the next day I'm back at the gym. I'm back taking care of myself. I'm back trying to become a better version of myself. I'm trying to achieve in life. After I wrote this book, and now that I'm an author, now there's going to be another challenge over the next couple of months after press is done, and this becomes a bestseller. Maybe becomes a movie or a documentary, and now I'll work on that.
Yeah, I love that. There is a beautiful moment in the book where you talk about how your mom and Lauren kind of came together. They joined forces and they sort of started you on your path to recovery. And that came after you potentially almost OD'd on heroin. What an eventful moment in your life. And honestly, it was kind of like divine intervention, I feel like, for that to happen. What do you remember from that moment? And reflecting on it, you must feel so grateful.
I am so grateful. My mother and my then girlfriend, who's now my wife, they were sent from the Almighty to save my life. You know, I remember being in my room, and I had the said drugs on me, something that I said I would never do. I was a multimillionaire, a household name on the biggest TV show in the country, and I'm in a dark room with a bag of heroin. And I try to keep on top of it, and and at first I was like, okay, I kind of didn't like it. But then there was like a devil on my shoulder that was like, why don't you try another keep up? Maybe that will make you feel a little bit better. Um, and as I went in to try for that second key bump, my phone rang, and it was my mother. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I was like, what's up, mom? She was like, are you okay? And she just sounded very concerned. and it just really weirded me out in the moment. I was just like, what the hell is going on? Am I on the Truman Show? I literally looked up at my ceiling to see if there was hidden cameras. I mean, I've done reality TV for 10 or I mean, it's now 15 years, but I looked up at the ceiling. Oh my God, like, am I on a hidden reality TV show and no one told me about it or something? Or maybe I signed some documents when I was high. I don't know what happened here. It could be possible,
Yeah.
you know, and, so I told my mom I'm fine, and then she's like, no, 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 are you fine? And then I was like, at that same time, there was a knock on the door, and it was Lauren, and she was knocking at the door abrasively, trying to get in. And I took it. I'm like, this is way too much. This is a sign from the Almighty. My eyes and my ears were open just enough for me to hear that message. And I was like, this is crazy. So I immediately stopped what I was doing. I could have easily died in that moment and not here to talk to you guys. And I threw the drugs down the toilet. I opened the door. I hung up with the phone with my mom, with like so almost like tears in my eyes, that I sort of surrendered. And then me and Lauren, we embraced, and I told her that I needed to call my pretrial officer in that moment, who was handling my case, and I needed to pretty much surrender and say that I've had enough, and that I needed to go to rehab. And then I was at rehab the next day, and I never looked back since. Now, if you look at my social media today, I'm celebrating 8 years of sobriety. Got 2 babies, and I got one on the way. I'm a champion of addiction. The face of the comeback is greater than the setback. And I wrote this book, and I was unfiltered and raw because I felt that it was going to save millions of lives.
It's not just going to be for fans of you who enjoy watching you, but for people just struggling. And I feel like it's going to be one of those books, people that might not even know you that well, but been through what you've been through or something like it. It's going to help them feel seen and heard too, which is such a beautiful gift that you're giving, like, for years to come.
Yeah, I think this book has got everything in it. It's going to shock you. It's going to entertain. It's a page turner. It's like an action movie, but at its core, it's even a love story as well. But at its core, it's going to save millions of lives, because I document in this book in detail how I saved myself from addiction.
Yeah.
Well, we
Well,
can't wait to watch the
congratulations.
movie version.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yes, yes, yes. I gotta get Miles Teller in there to play the situation.
I
Ooh,
can see it. I love
yes.
it.